Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. And he was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, and afterward he was hungry. And the tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, say that these stones may become loaves of bread." But answering he said, "It is written, Man shall live not by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection on the Gospel reading from the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 up to 11. It is about the temptation of Jesus, the Gospel reading for the first Sunday of Lent, year A. The temptations are presented in both Gospels, Matthew and Luke, in very similar way, with the major difference that there is different order of the last two temptations. But in the Gospel according to Matthew, the temptations are only mentioned. I will not make detailed comparison of the temptations in Matthew and Luke. Now, in Matthew's Gospel, after the introduction, which states that Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil, and that he was fasting for 40 days and for 40 nights, that introduction points out strongly to the story of the Israel when was, after getting out from the exile, spent 40 days in the desert. It was a time of purification, time of temptation, and also that Israel fall into temptation. For example, they were complaining in spite of receiving food from heaven, in spite of receiving manna, they were complaining that they were missing the food that they had in Egypt. So therefore, in particular, the first temptations refers to it, the temptation concerning the bread. And it is also the temptation which questions the sonship of Jesus. If you are the Son of God, say that these stones may become loaves of bread. And Jesus answers to this as well also to other following temptations in the same way, introducing the quotation from the book of Deuteronomy with this expression, "It is written." It is written, "Man shall live not by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." The stress is not the focus on material aspect, but also on the word of God, the divine word. Then the second temptation also questions the identity of Jesus. The devil takes Jesus now to the holy city and sets him on the pinnacle of the temple. In the Lucan Gospel, it is the last temptation, and questions the identity of Jesus in these words, "If you are the Son of God, from yourself, for it is written." And now is also a quotation from the Psalms. So the evil one is not only just tempting, but also even is using the Bible in support of his point. He will give his angels charge of you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. And then the third temptation, and Jesus also, of course, answers yet to it very strongly. Again, it is written, "You shall not tempt the Lord your God." It is from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 16. And the third temptation, which in the Lucan Gospel is at the center, the devil takes Jesus on a very high mountain, showing him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, and saying, "All this I will give you if you, falling down, worship me." Many translations translate as two verbs, but they are two consecutive verbs in relation. Firstly is falling down, and the focus is on worshipping. We could also translate that verb instead of washing, prostrating, because the gesture of prostrating was a gesture of worship. And Jesus answers, "Begone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." This is quotation from the book of Deuteronomy. So the verb to worship, to prostrate, is taken up, and then is added yet a synonymous verb, which is translated here to serve, but it is the word used more exclusively in the service of God. And then concludes with the statement that the devil left, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. At the beginning we have the same verb coming, the tempter came, and now the angels came. And the angels came to minister him, to serve him, but it is different verb than the one which was translated in verse 10, and him only you shall serve. Of course, those temptations we can also now interpret symbolically what each temptation means. For example, the temptation of bread, also the temptation of material things, and the temptation, for example, of the kingdoms, the human pride and the riches. But my focus is just here to stress how is this flow of the temptation, and in particular, very striking is now in Matthew's Gospel that the second temptation, the evil one, is not only just tempting us to fall to do bad things, but also he makes us sometimes believe, because gives us some elements of good, some proper right elements, like here he is quoting the psalm in order to twist the message, so it's not full lie, but mixing with half truth. I would like to wish you nice day, nice reflection, and also nice and fruitful beginning of this Lent season. God bless you.